Hi, this is János, this is Real World Audio, and we are here with Kintaro, and we will be talking about Voigt pipes. And first of all, I'm answering John Lambert's question that he asked quite a while ago. Hi János, quick question. A Voigt pipe is a resonator, therefore wouldn't thin walls help with a resonator? Or will thin walls steal energy from the resonating air? Thank you. So it is a kind of complex question, and really what I will do now is just have a look at what is happening inside a Voigt pipe, what is happening inside speakers in general first, and then we'll go from there and answer John's questions. So basically, today, most loudspeaker design goals, they go towards, so this is the modern loudspeaker design philosophy, is that we want to hear as much as possible just the cone itself and nothing else. And if we put the cone in a cabinet, that is a sheer impossibility. It's not going to ever happen. Even if you put it in a concrete box or concrete triangle, the concrete will still have some self-resonance and will modify the sound. So basically, the driver itself resonates the air. It is a resonator. And when there are resonances in the air, everything that the resonating air makes contact with will resonate itself. And even if it's a deadened cabinet, it will still resonate. And then, of course, there will be some who will be saying, oh, but if it's perfectly deadened, it won't resonate. No, it will resonate, but the deadening material, the dampening material inside the cabinet will transform the resonance into heat, into motion and heat, so thermal motion. So basically break up longer movements, longer longitudinal movements in the material and transform it to localized movements where the movement range is short enough so that it will transform into heat instead of being able to be transmitted to the surrounding region. Of course, this process doesn't happen like that. There are the dampening itself is a process that takes time. It does not happen instantly, and because it takes time, what it means, how it will work out, is there will be a time smear, a significant time smear due to the material that's doing the deadening. And the overall result of that will be is that the time smear has no harmonic relationship with the original signal, and therefore when we are doing harmonic related measurements, so let's say you have like a 1 kilohertz signal and you are watching how much that 1 kilohertz signal is getting attenuated, the dampening material will attenuate that a lot. You won't have 1 kilohertz signal after that, but there will be a wide band, very low level noise that will be generated by that dampening material that will just trail along in the time domain and will not be necessarily caught by the person who is looking for the reflections and artifacts at 1 kilohertz, which won't happen because that frequency is getting smeared to a wide band of frequencies and thus will have no harmonic and timing relationship to the original signal that excited those resonances in the cabinets. And some people says that this is of no importance whatsoever, because if it's not pertaining to the signal, then it means it will not bother the signal at all. Now the problem is that it will bother the signal. It will, so whatever sound the loudspeaker is making, generating, it will add its personality. So this dampened, time-delayed smear does add its own character, its own tonality to the sound that we are listening to. And even though it's not something like super strong, it's not something that's super obvious, but it is enough. It's enough of a character that the music that you are listening to will not sound natural. It will have a coloration added to it. And most people won't be able to put their fingers around it. Where is this coloration coming from? Because on the measuring device we are not seeing related harmonic content generated by the cabinet. However, that's why it sounds so strange and unnatural, because it has no harmonic relationship to the music. And however, this is just one part of the story, that when we apply dampening, then it adds this smear to the sound. Now the other problem, which I find perhaps even a bigger issue, or to me personally, it's at least as big or maybe even bigger, and it means that we are losing a lot of the energy. A lot of the energy that the driver is generating now is getting dampened out. It's getting snuffed out of existence. It's not reaching your ears as signal. Because what I want to get from loudspeakers is to have as much energy as possible that is generated by the driver to be translated to audible music. And when we want audible music, on that part of the driver, the front that is coming from the front of the cone, that's kind of an easier solution. And there's not much that can be done with it. It's just a given thing that all of the energy that's being pushed towards you will be coming towards you. Of course, if it's just an electrodynamic speaker, only a fraction of that energy will be transferred into acoustic energy that will reach your ears. When we add a horn in front of that, then that will very largely increase the efficiency of that energy, so that it will reach your ears a lot more, with a lot more power, with a lot more integrity, compared to just letting it dissipate in the room with a flat driver. And that's why the more like a cone-shaped or horn-shaped a driver is, and the horn in front of a driver, the higher the sensitivity or efficiency of that speaker becomes. And that's why panels have such low sensitivity, because most of the energy they generate will just it dissipates, so that there is no no pressurization, that no guidance that will guide the pressure wave towards you. From a flat panel, the air molecules don't go towards you, they go towards every direction, and there's no focusing. So without a focusing lens in front of the driver, if it's a moving surface, if it doesn't shape the flow of the air to go towards you, then it will just go towards every direction and will have very little efficiency. And to compensate for that, we need to increase the amplification from the amplifier. We need to add more watts, and of course if you add more watts, then we need to amplify the signal more, and the more we amplify the signal, the more noise, the more error, the more problems we introduce to the signal. So that's why it is of I would say a paramount importance that that for a given loudspeaker, what I have experienced for my musical taste and my ears, the greatest benefit is when I optimize that given loudspeaker to be as efficient as possible. And for a cabinet, we need the cabinets because the cone itself cannot couple to the bass, to the low frequency energies efficiently. It just doesn't work. That's why we need the cabinet. And when we have just a square cabinet, like a box cabinet, the typical box cabinets, there we have a lot of random reflections of the sound waves, and we are essentially generating pressurization inside the box, and through that port, the bass reflex port, that pressurized energy will escape and pressurize the room in the low frequencies. And of course, the more that energy can come out through the port, the more energy will fill your room. Now the problem is that those sound waves are reflecting all kind of directions everywhere, from all the front panel, the back sides, etc. And because of those reflections and the high pressurization, it's going to excite the walls of the cabinet, and it's going to excite them at various frequencies down to the lowest frequency that those panels can be excited at. So if, for example, if like the height of the cabinet is able to be excited at 300 Hertz, then if there are notes below 300 Hertz bouncing around in the cabinet, they will still excite that 300 Hertz node from the cabinet itself. And that's why box cabinets are problematic, because when you have base material that reaches down significantly below the lowest frequency that a box can naturally support, then those lowest frequencies in the box will be constantly triggered, and it will constantly radiate energy at that frequency, even though there's no music material at all in those frequencies. And however, if it is a really good box made of a very good quality wood, and going to John's question, if we were to have like a light cabinet, that's a live cabinet, then that light cabinet will radiate a lot of the energy that is back reflected into the cabinet out into the air, and basically the whole box is turning into a larger surface version of the loudspeaker cone. And there is a school of loudspeaker building that says this is unacceptable because there is a delay in the sound when you are tasking the cabinet to transmit the energy. However, wood has a much higher transmitting ability for sound than air. So the wood conducts much faster than the speed of sound in the air. So basically, if you are tasking a light cabinet to be live, then that is the sound that's coming from the cabinet itself, and then the large surface of the cabinet. So the resonances will spread across the surface of the loudspeaker much faster than the sound is coming to you through the air. So that's why the even a larger cabinet can be a really good source, uniform source of sound, because the sound is transmitted at speeds 5-6 times compared to how it is transmitted in the air. And of course, given the practical sizes of cabinets that we have, we are not seeing a transmission at 20 kilohertz or 10 kilohertz, something like that. Cabinets themselves, maybe depending on the materials choice and size, peak at about 5 kilohertz or so. That would be just my guesstimate, a rough guesstimate. But even like a Lagrange size cabinet, the majority of the energy that the cabinet itself radiates would be well below 1 kilohertz and down to about maybe 200 hertz or so. So that's the region. So basically mid-bass through mid-range. Not even top of mid-range, just like lower mid-range, mid-bass through lower mid-range. Those are the frequencies that a cabinet would actively help out with. And that is something that I think, in my experience, is beneficial, because it is that region where any and every loudspeaker cone starts to lose efficiency. And even if you look at a 15, 16 or 18 inch driver below 1 kilohertz, you see that their efficiency is dropping. And if you have your cabinet helping out in that region, then that is really a big bonus. And it's a big bonus because what you want is your cabinet helping out the below 500 hertz region. And why is that? It is because above 500 hertz we can pinpoint image with our brains. When the frequency drops below 500 hertz, we cannot make an accurate call from where that sound originates. So, if you have a 300 hertz signal, and it's not just your driver front creating it, but your cabinet as well, that will not smear the image, because your brain cannot tell whether the source was this size driver or a bigger size baffle surface, because our ears or our brains are not trained to image that accurately in those frequency regions. However, what your ears can very easily tell is if there's more energy in the mid bass, you right away will notice that yes, there is more energy in the mid bass. And now, when we are looking at Voigt pipes, we are looking at something very similar as what happens in a regular cabinet, but in a Voigt pipe the difference is that we do not have these all sorts of random reflections, but the back pressure is transmitted into a pipe. And in the pipe, the airflow is basically, we have a laminate airflow. So the sound waves are not reflecting in all kind of directions, randomly exciting random panels, but we have a pressure fluctuation that goes from one end of the pipe to the other end of the pipe. Woo, woo, woo. And there's the driver that is giving energy into that up and down motion of the pressure waves. And because of that, because the pressure wave has an organized way, it's a highway without blockages. That's where the pressure fluctuations are going. That's why it is not, it is much more efficient. There are much less losses. And of course, because we have a much taller height, we do not have those 200 hertz, like down to like 300 hertz. But even if we have like, so now I'm just winding back another step for everyone to understand more. So if you have a loudspeaker that's let's say about like 60-70 centimeter high, and it has like a lowest resonance of about, let's say, about 300 hertz or so, 250 hertz, but it's much narrower, and the width, the self-resonant frequency for that is let's say about 600 hertz, and because of the depth it has like a 900 hertz resonance. So different panels resonate at different frequencies. And each of these frequencies will be the main resonant modes of a box. And even though it's happy to resonate so down to that 300 hertz region, but when we hit it with energies that are lower than 300 hertz, it will elicit all three. So the 300 hertz panel, the 600 hertz, and then the 900 hertz, all of them will resonate together at their own frequencies. And however, with the Voigt pipe, because if you have, when you have like a 2 meter tall column, there won't be any other frequencies that are going to get excited other than that, than the quarter wave that corresponds to the column. And even when you hit the quarter wave, then the pipes are not starting to self-resonate like a box, like a ported box would, but they are able to transmit the pressure wave into the air down to not just a quarter wave, 1/8 of the wave. And below 1/8 of the wave is the pipe stops being an amplifier. It cannot support frequencies lower than that, and it is just not getting excited at all by those frequencies. So we do not have any kind of given frequency that will excite a Voigt pipe's panels. And of course, when you look at that like a 1/8 of a frequency, that's just extremely low. And when you have like a 2 meter tall pipe, then that will fall in the 20 hertz or below 20 hertz region. And and essentially we do not see any kind of main resonances that the cabinet will get excited at. However, what we are also looking at is that when these pressure waves are traveling in the pipe, like up and down, some of that energy is of course is pushing against the pipe itself, and some of that energy, if the pipe is not of a completely inert material, such as a 10-meter thick concrete tube, then but even a 10-meter thick concrete tube will get excited just at very low frequencies, at a few hertz. But in practical cabinets, the material will get excited, and mainly the front and the rear panel of the pipe will also radiate some of that energy. And of course it can radiate the energy down to the lowest frequency that panel supports. So if you have like a 180 centimeter long front panel, then the sound wave that it supports is like that corresponds to the half-wave frequency of that of the frequency, that length. So basically we are talking about something like 60 hertz or something like that. Someone could do a quick calculation. How long is the half wave of a 60 hertz? That's how long wave, or how deep a wave that pipe element can support in the front. And some people would say that that is not desirable, and I would say that when we have like a proper good quality wood that is capable to transmit energy fast and is uniform, so that there are no hot spots formed on the surface, then that is very much desirable. And what I have noticed, that it will give us very nice and very pleasing natural sound that doesn't trigger the brain to thinking that we are hearing something artificial. It won't add that flavor to the sound that some gimmick was used, some trickery, that we are hearing a plastic loudspeaker and unnatural sounding instruments from a recording. Because everyone can design their loudspeaker to be the way they want it. Everyone has their own flavor. We have each our own goals. Some people chase something called perfection, which doesn't really exist, because even if any given manufacturer reaches their own standard of perfection, what they call perfection, a year later or a week later, it is already gone. They will have to create a new standard, because the world doesn't stop. And there's always the next year, there's always a next speaker, more. It's never something static. We cannot just have like perfection and done, because what we can have is a goal that we set up in front of ourselves. And today the biggest goal that the manufacturers set in front of themselves is the most pinpoint imaging. And of course, for that, the price is compromised tonality. These are two goals that work against each other. The more you crank up the pinpoint ability of a loudspeaker, the more you will take it away from natural sound, because you steer the development to a direction. Okay, let's see. I'm recording again because I have reached the recording limit. So now we are continuing. So when we work on pinpoint imaging, then tonality goes out the window, and that's just something that that I have observed and have not seen or experienced anything to the contrary. And as someone who decides for himself what I want to listen to, how I want to hear it, my main goal is to reproduce sound as natural as possible, and making it having the same effect on me as live music has. And that's something that that is not so obvious on how it can be done and what is happening. And the reason for that, why it is not easy, is because there are so many diverse recordings. All of them were made with a different engineering mindset in mind, different miking, different. And yet at the same time, I have found a commonality with them, is that when I'm keeping the reproduction of any and every and all recorded material to be reproduced with speakers that that maximize the efficiency transmitter, that is what keeps it most natural. And when we are trying to put a straitjacket on the sound by dampening the cabinet, and by dampening it we are robbing the energy. And we are not just robbing the energy. When you rob the energy, you also rob the information content. And today, just the engineering mentality has like a vicious fear of contamination, and everyone's greatest fear is that the cabinet might contribute something that is not on the recording, and that's why we want to dampen it out. And everyone is forgetting that by dampening it out, we are still contaminating it. And that's just a different form of contamination. And my take on that is for you to be educated and choose your own poison. What is it that befits you? If you want extreme pinpoint imaging, resolution for resolution's sake, then you go towards the heavy dampening avenue. However, it doesn't mean that when you have a loudspeaker that is active, that the loudspeaker itself transmits that energy to the air that would otherwise be deadened out. It doesn't mean that that kind of loudspeaker, it doesn't give you accurate information. It is lacking detail, it's lacking image, none at all. But it has something very crucial that hyper pinpoint image loudspeaker philosophy doesn't have, and that is that it allows your brain to focus on the music content exactly the same way as your brain focuses on live music. because when you listen to audiophile recordings on these heavily dampened speakers, your attention is at very different aspects of the sound compared to when you listen live. And that's my biggest thing about audio and audio journey, and that's why it is an audio journey, because everyone has to figure this out for themselves. And if you don't figure this out for yourself, then you are just kind of like floating around in the wind and just like getting hit with commercials, advertisements, and buying something. But and it doesn't necessarily mean that you will get something bad, something that you won't like. You will probably get even that way things that you dearly love and you are completely satisfied with. However, it will completely, it will install in you a kind of mentality, an awareness that is broken, that you won't be able to absorb music because you are absorbing sound, and you are hell-bent, your attention is hell-bent on the aspects of sound. You are getting trapped by a siren song, and you are unable to absorb music and unable to develop a taste for music, and unable to develop a really deep appreciation and connectivity. You cannot connect to music. You connect only to sound, only to the surface, and you never reach the core. And reaching the core, in my experience, has been the number one thing about music. That's why art is there, because all the artists, what they want you to reach deep down your core. Every great artist, not just great artist, every artist who is an artist at heart and not just puts 8 hours of work of playing something and then done with it, but does it because he or she loves it. They do it because they have an experience that they have digested deeply. It's in their heart, in their soul, not just in their mind. It's something more than mind, more than just something logical, more than can be transmitted through words. It's something that's transcribed to the language of music, transcribed to art, to expression. It's more than just the sounds, much more than that. And they want to give you that much more. And the sound, that's just the superficial vehicle of projecting it to you. And I think what I experience is a great stereo system projects a lot more than just sound. And that type of thing, I noticed, that kind of projection is very minimal from a dampened loudspeaker compared to one that can resonate, that comes alive with the music. So I think it is kind of like a loudspeaker is a music instrument made of wood. Wood is something that had life in it once, and the music puts back life into that wood, into that cabinet. And I know this doesn't sound very much scientific, but there's something to it, that whenever you have sound, whenever you have resonance, it excites everything. And what is it that you want to be excited in your living space? Do you want a block of concrete to be excited? Do you want to listen to a block of concrete resonating? Do you want to experience a bunch of dampening material resonating around you? Do you want dampening come to life in your room? That is something like how we as humans connect to nature, connect to everything around us, and I think it just goes so much deeper than can I A/B test something and hear 5% more or less. I think that's just utter rubbish and is utterly inconsequential. What really makes the difference is, can I connect to the music, and can music reach my heart? And I know this is something deeply personal, and each of you, each of us has to find what is it that connects you to something, and go that way. What I'm doing on my channel is sharing with you how I make my connection and what worked for me to create this connection. And I'm not just being selfish by that, and I'm not saying this is the only way, probably there's other ways as well, but I have noticed that this way, that how it connects to me, it connects not just to me, but basically everyone who tried out listening to my system here in my living room, they all experienced extremely deep levels of connection to the music. And that is why I decided to have this channel, because if it worked for everyone who has heard it so far, there is a chance it works for you as well. So I think that's the long and short about resonances. Although I have to say, John, that I have not touched on the Voigt pipe, whether we want it to have thinner walls or thicker walls. That entirely depends on the material that you are using, and it depends on the room and everything, what will work best there. And the compromise is as follows, is that the thinner the material is, the higher frequency it has the tendency to resonate at. So that's why I would say, like, the thickness for your Voigt pipe, the main determination for that is your driver itself. What is the frequency response of your driver? If it has a lot of extra upper mid-range energy, then I would heavily recommend against very thin material, because even it will radiate more energy than a thicker material, but at much higher frequencies. And when your driver is already putting out a lot of energy in the 2-3 kilohertz region, you don't want that thin wall put out an extra couple 3 dBs, because it will make it unlistenable. Then you want to make it a little bit thicker, so that it won't get excited by higher frequencies, only just 500 hertz and lower. So hopefully that was a satisfactory answer, and if not, just put down your questions. And thank you, John, for waiting so long for this answer. And for anyone who is still here listening to this video, that's just amazing. And guess what? Kintaro is still here with me. And he has been a very important part of this video. And I see Machi is trying to open the cabinet there. Let's see what's happening. So I think now it's time to stop the video and take care of my other kitten over there. Machi, okay. Bye bye.